Hello and welcome back to the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent. It is Thursday, March 18th. In this episode, we will review a smattering of European results. There's a lot of them that don't matter. We will talk about my favorite competition, the FA Cup, where City is going to face Everton and other teams. But first, following along in the North London Derby defeat, we have to talk about Spurs again. Mike, how do you feel about this Europa exit to Dinamo Zagreb?
Yes. So Spurs lost to, let's just put it all out there. Tottenham had a reverse Ajax today. And for those that don't understand what that means, is that in the Champions League semifinal 2 years ago, Spurs were down 2-0, I think 3-0 on aggregate. Yeah, 3-0 on aggregate. Uh-huh. And they at halftime. And they needed 3 goals to get through.
That was the greatest.
Miraculously, the miracle in Amsterdam, Lucas scores 3 goals in the second half, blah, 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 blah. Fast forward to almost 2 years later. I don't know how to say this guy's name. Mislav Orsic.
Let's go with it.
Close enough. That's close enough. Scores in the 62nd minute, gives Dinamo Zagreb life.
Well, let's be fair. These are every one of these goals that Spurs gives up is really fucking world class. Like that's the first thing that we have to say. There's a couple things like I want to give that guy a fucking like shout out. Like this guy, I looked him up, has come from nowhere. It's like he went to China and Korea young. So he's like a weird, and now he's at Zagreb, which is historically the best club. Well, I'm not going to say that out loud because someone might burn down my house. But Dinamo Zagreb is a big team.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Spurs blow this game slowly and painfully.
And it's your classic thing we've seen for Spurs time and time again this year. They sit back, sit on leads, and then when they need a goal, they turn it on. And in the last 10 minutes, which ironically was the only part of this match I got to watch, Kane got stoned on the doorstep. Bale had a great effort at goal and missed or got stopped.
Kane twice. One on a header.
Yeah, I know.
From Bale. Lo Celso almost hit one from open play. Bale hit the outside of the post almost from about 20 yards. So Spurs had chances and I wouldn't say deserve to lose, but the problem with Mourinho ball is when you don't get results, there's nothing else to stand on, right? So it all looks awful. But the goals that Dinamo Zagreb scored, all 3 by Orsic, were really, really good. The first one was a left wing on the right foot coming down the left, out curler that I suppose someone could have closed down a little bit harder. So he had the time, shot in the top corner. Lloris, no chance. The second goal, these are all late in the second half. So Spurs is doing their job. The first goal goes in the 63rd minute.
Right. And again, eerily similar to Ajax.
Yeah.
They get a late goal to tie it, and into extra time we go.
Yeah.
And it's over. I don't want to belabor the point too much on Spurs.
Yeah, no, we don't want to go too far. Yeah.
What I do want to address really quickly is 2 things on Jose Mourinho. They're not going to fire him. No. They're not going to get rid of him. And the reason why is because the chief negotiator, like the hardest nut to crack in all of Europe, Daniel Levy, right? And he wanted to push Mauricio Pochettino out so fucking badly that he gave the keys to the kingdom to Jose Mourinho in this negotiation. He signed him to a 4-year deal at about 15 million pounds per,
which is the top right there with Pep.
Yeah, twice as much as Pochettino was making.
Yeah.
And okay, fine. But a 4-year deal for a guy who has serially busted out and flamed out of his clubs on year 3. So now we're at the end of year 2. Things are going very poorly. Mm-hmm. And you can't fire him because if you do, you owe him whatever you're going to pay him the rest of this year and 2 years worth at 15 million. Do you understand that if you combine that, hold on real quick. If you combine that with Pochettino's roughly 12 million pound settlement, that's 42-ish million. And if he were to be fired today, more than that, probably 45 or so. Do you know how many players in Spurs history have cost more than that?
2.
2. 3. Davinson Sanchez is on the fringe of that. So maybe 3.
Yeah.
Right? You're really nitpicking there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit, man. He is the most penny smart and dollar stupid man I've ever seen in my entire life. He builds this massive cathedral of a stadium. I've been in it. It's amazing.
Dude, they
but
got
as
hosed.
Pochettino
the COVID thing
famously
really
said,
fucked them.
No, it didn't. Because he fucking fired Pochettino before the Kung Flu was found in that lab, right? So he's been worthless.
Shout out to our poor Asian friends who are getting harassed around the country. So respect to them.
Yeah, that's really some horrible stuff that's going on, by the way. I don't care. So it's it's just Pochettino said in one of his last interviews before it started really going south. He's like, you can have the nicest house in the town, but you have to have nice furniture inside of it, or else it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And he had a fair amount of nice furniture. It was getting kind of rusty.
I just think it's one of those. And I listened to Mourinho's interview. He sounded broken up, but he gave what is annoying is this, like, with the English press love. Which is why Mourinho is famous. It's I went to one locker room for a team that had heart and was celebrating, and I don't know, where my team is. And he for once included himself, sort of, right? He didn't quite throw anyone under the bus.
It's what he does though at this point.
He didn't. He did not kill anyone, and they tried to make him kill people, but he was super disappointed. He's like, I am more than sad, which was the line that he kept saying.
Fine.
And then he said, for 90 minutes plus the first half of the whatever, my team thought that they could just win this game. Basically, like, they didn't show up until the game was drawn. Now, we don't know what he's telling people in fucking training. Like, we only have the All or Nothing, where basically it's a fluff movie for Daniel Levy. Yeah. Now, does he tell them, if you move from this spot and go forward, I won't play you? Does he tell them to defend, even though he puts offensive players on? Like, when he put Bale on in the second half, I'm like, you're at 0-0. What are you putting Bale on for? If you're going to sit on a lead, sit on it. Why is Bale playing? Then Lo Celso came in, which I thought was weird. Like,
no, I think that was a good sub, but I mean, you're right on Bale. Like
if you're going to be defensive, just lock it up. Okay.
No, I think that's what I think. Lo Celso is more of a traditional 8 in that role. So fine.
Okay.
But nonetheless, right? Like the absolute unmitigated Stockholm syndrome that the English media has when dealing with Jose Mourinho, it's fucking, you act surprised when this shit happens, right? Like, you're sitting here.
No one's surprised.
No, not you. Yeah. I mean, like, the proverbial, you gotta be kidding me that you're going to attack any single one of the Spurs players when we've seen this for literally 8 months now. I don't know, 6 months. Like, I'm at a loss. Yeah, I'm completely at a loss. But I don't know how you're supposed to fucking rationalize that.
But I think last week, we really wanted to talk before this result that was completely unexpected, and to give a couple other teams their due. Arsenal go through on a loss. My boys from Rangers do not, but there's a good story here. There's a racial abuse episode. There's a black player on Rangers who gets abused by a Slava Prague player. And the Scots, being the Scots, they beat up the fucking guy on the team. The fans.
I did not see that.
So they reported it to the authorities. Something happened in Scotland where the fans are like, oh, yeah? Fuck you. You're not getting out of Scotland alive.
That's awesome.
So they fight for their freedom.
They will. So
good for Rangers and good for their fans, even if they're probably racist, actually, because for some reason soccer fans are just, there's no room for not racism among hooligans. But
unless you're one of them,
right? So they fight for their own, right? Yeah. So they actually have street loyalty. So they beat up some guy, some Slava Prague guy, and
they'll cite that for the next 25 years. Right. And be like, no. That one time in 2021, we beat the shit out of that guy because he called one of our guys a bunch of shit that we thought was funny at the time, but we lost. So we were mad about it.
United got through. They dispose of AC Milan. Anything else? I can't even remember.
No, I gotta be honest. I kind of didn't expect to have a Europa League storyline this in this episode.
Yeah, it is a surprise.
How me surprised.
It's bad. I mean, your season is over.
Over.
You have this game in April and that's about it.
But like, and we've talked about the trophy conversation, and you called me out on it before because you were what I said was I'm not going to celebrate what is essentially the European version of the NIT. I would be happy if they won the tournament because it would give them a buy into, like we said last week, a pot one Champions League spot, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then what, $50 to $80 million between winning the tournament and Champions League. Obviously, it's a huge thing for the club, but the cost of that is that it's not the trophy for the club; it's Jose's trophy, right? It's I got what I came here for.
You want to deny him his thing.
I really do. I want him the fuck out of my club. But I don't. I just want him. I want him to fail spectacularly. And even if I have to go down with him at this point, so be it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, what if that costs you Kane at this point?
Fine, because you know what? I'm tired of hearing how he can't win the big one. So go to fucking City, go to PSG, go to Madrid, and just go light the world on fire. Can you imagine him in the French league under Pochettino again? He'd score 4 goals a match. Are you fucking serious? He would look at Mbappe and be like, "This is all you could figure out in this league? Are you serious?"
Yeah, these guys are clowns.
Yeah.
But I know
enough about Spurs.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about the other London team, the best team in London.
I started going into today or going into this episode. I was like, we really have to talk about Chelsea.
They're really good.
They're really good. Tuchel's done a great job, but I don't want to go into Tuchel. I wanted to go a couple of different places. So now, in the span of, 6 hours, I have to watch my season get its heart ripped out and shown. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And then I have to sit here and suck Chelsea's dick.
You don't have to.
I don't have to, but I should. I should.
I mean, so
all the gravy
we have a Tuchelista thing going on. He has more than justified Frank's firing.
Oh yeah.
Chelsea
Frank justified Frank's firing.
Right. They are undefeated. They are undefeated since he came on. They just beat Atletico Madrid, who probably for the first 5 months of the season were the best team in the league. They fell on hard times around Christmas and weren't as good since. And what happens with Cholo Simeone is when he's expanding and his team has a rough patch, he reverts back to type and can't get out of it. So Chelsea with the clean sheet.
It's like lockjaw.
The defense again. Conte, incredible again. So he's back. They figured that out. There was a red card late in the game. I don't think it affected the outcome, although Chelsea got a final goal that really put the game away. But, Ziyech with the early goal, the defense have been solid. And we want to give a shout out to goalkeepers in general, because it seems to be this amorphous magic position. And then Edouard Mendy specifically, who came in, gave Chelsea a lift early in the season because Kepa was so bad. It was like, oh, look what a normal goalkeeper looks like. He's not terrible.
Right. And so that's kind of the point, is that where you start off, Chelsea was a complete disaster between
defensively. They could
everywhere.
Always score.
No, everywhere. Well, not even so much in the beginning of the season, because they couldn't figure out what puzzle pieces went where, right? Yeah. Werner couldn't hit the fucking water if he fell out of a boat. You had Ziyech, who was hurt. Pulisic was hurt. Mount was trying to do 4 different things, who's come good, fine. But he
didn't play yesterday.
No, he didn't play. But largely in the beginning of the season, you've got too many Chiefs, not enough Indians, essentially at the front, and then at the back. Oh my God, how much time he got! Right, Reece James was their best player early on, but it wasn't because he was their best player; because everybody else was a disaster.
And then and they had
Jorginho jumping off the moon to try and fucking miss penalties.
What's that? Oh, Thiago Silva was leading the line. They thought they got the free 36-year-old defender. He goes down. They're like, oh my God, what are they going to do? And Tuchel has pieced it together with Rudiger, Zuma, and Azpilicueta. They're going to 3 at the back. Again, missed the most magical hair in the league. Marcus Alonso comes back in, resurrected when he's a wing back, he's good. When he's not good.
Right. But so it is interesting that he unseated Chilwell, right? Like, I think it's the lack of Englishness. Like Tuchel was going for something else.
Yeah, I mean, there is a distinctly not Englishness about this version of Chelsea. I believe, as I'm looking at this lineup, there is one Englishman in the starting lineup, and it's Reece James. Everyone else is
who's undeniably their best player, and or has been, I should say, over the course of the season. But again, I would say that Edouard Mendy changed the tenor of the club
And
immediately the minute he walked in the door.
And it's happened multiple times in multiple teams. Ederson, Allison, now with Emi Martinez. The goalkeepers clearly are a thing that can completely change your team.
Yeah, I think that there's a synergy between Tuchel coming in. Well, and it started before Tuchel, to be clear.
Yeah.
But it took on a new life when he came in, and he gets all the credit for sorting the defense, but he shouldn't, because it was the pieces were already being put into place.
Chelsea has the second best squad in the league.
I would say that's fair, right? But like
they have the whole time. I think if Tuchel was there the whole time, let's say Tuchel had been the coach instead of Frank Lampard the whole time, maybe he doesn't do as well with the kids because he doesn't know who they are the previous season. But they would be there with City, I think. I think they could be. He's a good coach. City's
right. I think they're certainly higher than they are. Right, absolutely. And I think that they're probably closer to United. But again, my point on Mendy is that he came in at a point, and it's a tale of extremes, like so many other things in this world are. But you have Kepa, who is just a complete disaster at the back. So he has no confidence, but equally as importantly, nobody in front of him directly has any confidence.
They don't know what he's going to do.
They don't know what he's going to do, but they're just trying to they're overextending themselves, trying to give him an outlet so that he doesn't fuck up. And inevitably somebody does, and it's in the back of the net, right? That goal that he more or less kicked right at Sadio Mane, it sticks out to me in all of the plays in this season. That's one of the more memorable ones, not because it was objectively hilarious, but it's because it illustrated all of Chelsea's problems in one instance.
Yeah.
And so in comes Mendy, and everybody just takes a deep breath, which was obviously the only thing they needed, because you still had, Silva was playing well for a 36-year-old guy with a lot of miles on his legs.
He had the first game was bad, but otherwise he was good.
Right. But again, how much of that was all of that clusterfuckiness around him? I'm going to make that a word, by the way.
That's a good word.
Yeah, I thought so. So Mendy calms the room, and all of a sudden it starts. Yeah. All of a sudden it starts to gel. But the other thing is that who's the guy from the Fantastic Four who can just stretch everywhere? Like
Mr. Fantastic?
Is it Mr. Fantastic? Yeah. Yes. Like he's 6'48", and he just gets to things that your average goalkeeper doesn't. We talked before we were recording about how he's a little bit more old fashioned and he doesn't get the modern value out of a goalkeeper and passing out from the back and all that stuff.
He does it. It looks uncomfortable.
And you know what? It probably should be, because he's the only guy on the field who can play with his fucking hands. We've both talked about it. If you can't play out of the back, don't play out of the back, right? If you are just a 6'7" shot stopper and you're goddamn good at it, just stop the ball from going in the goddamn net, and you're
then good. The stats back it up, right? So Chelsea
simplified it. That's all.
Chelsea are the second best defense in the league, the second fewest shots on target. So Mendy is getting protected and saving shots that he should save.
Right,
but the other pieces, they are the second best team on goal difference per 90. So it's City and then them. So they really, in terms of quality, are the second best team in the league, and that plays out.
But I want to go back to that difference you said. It was Chelsea have given up the second fewest amount of shots
on target.
You got to understand that means he's not called upon tremendously, like a lot. But the thing is that when he is, they're very often good opportunities, and he needs to stay sharp, right? Like it's almost as if, like they say in hockey all the time, goalies, like you see the puck, you feel it on you, like you're better off to over the game. It's actually when you don't get a lot of action for a while, you are more prone to mistakes. That's definitely true here as well. So his ability to stay within the game, within himself, again, just he's not reinventing the wheel. He's just simplified the position for Chelsea, which has made things significantly easier.
He was the best goalkeeper in France the previous year. That team was the number one. I think it was Rennes or Lille, whichever one it was.
I believe Rennes.
Yeah, and I believe that they were the number one defensive team in France. So usually if you find a good defense, there's a good goalkeeper. You cannot have it without the other. Like we've been sort of saying in the second half of the season, soccer is a weak link sport. You can't have one spot that's poor. And if you do, it should be a winger that you're down one, or a left back that maybe he's not as he doesn't do one part of the game, but he's got to do the core part of the game right. Like you can't have an offensive fullback who can't defend at all without cover. Otherwise, you end up like Trent Alexander-Arnold,
Right.
Which is probably why right now Tuchel doesn't feel like Chilwell can play, because he's not scoring enough and he needs to not give up any shots.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he's gone with the 5 at the back. Right. Alonso gives them a chance to score, but at least, yes, he's a turnstile, but at least there's an extra center back who could come in and support him. So it's interesting times. Any other there?
Yeah, I've still got a Chelsea take.
more Chelsea?
More Chelsea takes. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the future of Christian Pulisic. He came on this week in a cameo appearance, and he got an assist in a garbage time matter where Atleti was down a man, as we mentioned.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I hated it when he signed. I hate it now. I'm worried about what it's stunted his growth. I mean, look, nobody's saying that you're going to, after a few good years in Dortmund and you're 19 years old and you have a big money move to London, that you are all of a sudden going to be, the Cristiano Ronaldo, right? I don't think anybody expected that of him. I think American fans were excited to see him continue his progression.
I think that the issue with him is, like, there's no doubt in the restart under Frank, he was Chelsea's best offensive player. He was up there.
Yeah.
After the shutdown, right?
Yes. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
He had a rest. I think the issue with Christian Pulisic is he's fucking injury prone, and you need minutes, you need time. And I think he's slight. He's probably 145 pounds, 160, 50 pounds.
Took him out of the pool. Yeah.
So he's got that physical problem, and then it compounds on itself. The more you get hurt, the more you think you're going to get hurt, the more you do get hurt. I mean, I worry about it. I mean, has there been a season that he's played 25 games?
Yes.
Of 90 minutes?
So with Chelsea?
Any team.
Yes. So I'm looking at the stats now, and 17-18 in Dortmund, 32 appearances, 27 starts. That was his
That's a lot.
year.
That's a full season.
That's a full season.
Yeah.
Last season, again, keeping in mind that he had 4 months off, 25 appearances, 19 starts, right? But this year, and actually more than that in all competitions, right? So he's probably up to, 21, 23. He's at 26 last year, okay? This year, starts, he's at 15 in, what is that? No, that's not even accounting for all the competitions.
Well, here's a little thing that's nice in the comparison.
40 games.
Yeah, in the comparison system, in terms of quality, he's in the comparison bucket of Mane, Coman, Foden, Nicola Pepe, Chiesa, Harvey Barnes. He's, from a quality perspective, that's where his pedigree is. He's in that top winger place. And I know I keep joking around about Brighton, but when you think about how American players have broken through in terms of minutes and playing, and yes, Champions League is important and you should be there, but where did all those American players go? They went to teams a rung down. Dempsey pushed Fulham into, to your point, Europa League. They went to the Europa League final, basically, under Hodgson. But I think I would prefer that Pulisic was playing with fucking Grealish on the other side.
I was about to say, wouldn't he be fun on Aston Villa? Fuck.
Right? Wouldn't it be nice if he was over there?
Wouldn't that
he
be
was
fun?
in the fucking El Ghazi spot and just murdering, right? Just waiting for stuff from. They're both attacking, or to your point, like my little joke, to Brighton, to Wolves. Although he's not Portuguese, so he can't play for Wolves.
He's not Portuguese, but he would be great with Wolves.
Yeah, but is he
him and Neto on different sizes?
They're kind of the same. Oh, by the way, weird one. Rui Patricio also smashed his head open. There's something going on with Wolves. They're getting their heads cut off and put on spikes like the fucking whatever the hell they are. That show with Wolves. Starks, that one. But yeah, I'm concerned for Christian Pulisic. At this point, he's a top player. He's he's an okay player at one of the top clubs in the world, right? Like,
Right.
he's
And that's
he,
the problem.
He really has to break through soon because it ends quickly. They'll just be like,
Exactly.
you're going to Villa. You get hurt at Villa. All right, you're going to Fulham. Oh, you're at Fulham? Oh, are they moving up? Okay, now you're at Fulham. All of a sudden, you're fucking playing for Brentford.
Right.
My
Oh,
book
and
is
so that's
collapsing,
the
by
point
way.
I was
They're not
hitting
going to
on.
get automatic promotion.
Oh my goodness. We'll talk about that next time, I guess. But that was the point
No,
I was
we
making
won't.
about no, I'm not going to talk about Bradford. That Chelsea is just such a churn out, right? It always has been. Lukaku,
It's a tough club. It's a tough
club
fucking club.
to break through and then stick at. Because even if you're sticking, you're still going to get competition.
Salah, KDB, Lukaku. If they kept those three guys,
They'd have won every game in the last 4 years.
Right, but they wouldn't have developed Hazard, who is now going down as the worst transfer in history.
Right, that's fair. But nonetheless, and so you know very well that they're going to be in on Haaland and a bunch of attacking players again for some fucking reason, despite the fact that somehow they still don't have a striker.
If I'm a striker, I am not ever going to Chelsea. Ever.
Right.
I'll just
Why?
you know what? Because
Why would you?
listen, if you gotta respect the streak, you've got to respect the mojo and the fucking voodoo. If there is a fucking voodoo hex on the strikers at Chelsea, then there's a voodoo hex on the strikers at Chelsea until there isn't.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm not going if I would go anywhere near that place. Like, now Werner's got the fucking voodoo on him.
He does. Murata too. If my friends are listening to this, they'll get that. But like, so that's kind of the point, is that now there's going to be competition behind him, nipping at his heels. There's already a fair amount of competition in front of him. Where did we go for Christian Pulisic? Now he's only 21, but you said it does end fast. Do they try to cut bait with him? Do they try and they sell him for a penny?
No, they would sell him. I think that they're
not cut him. Right. Do they try and get something back that they can afford somebody else for? Not that money's an issue to them.
If you're cynical, you go, we got the shirts out of him.
Oh, I've never not said that. In fact, I always said, man, he would be such a great Pochettino signing if we ever had any fucking transfer money. But and when I did the whole Alex Morgan thing, it was the exact same argument, right? You got your American cash cow 2 years too late. But that's the thing, is that I was always certain that Abramovich got him for the shirt sales from day one.
I mean, it depends. I think
the market share.
It literally matters. Is he in the zeitgeist? And if you're Chelsea and you don't think he is, you move him. I mean, listen, the Champions League show that my friend helped put together for CBS, they fucking talk about Pulisic because it's a U.S. show. They talk about Americans in the Champions League.
Well, so does NBC.
Right. They talk about Weston McKennie at Juve. But your airtime will get sucked up by another American playing better. And he's not the only one anymore. Like, he is the vanguard. He weirdly is going historically to be a super duper important player because he said, fuck this. I'm not staying in the United States. I'm 16 years old. I'm going to Germany. Listen, that's hard. I could barely wipe my ass at 16. In fact,
you can barely wipe
my ass now. I mean, I had skid marks up until last week. So, and for our German fans, that's the Scheiße. I know that's your thing. You probably can. If I package my underwear and mail it to, there'll be a weird German guy smelling them. That's more German content. But he showed the way for them, and all those guys. Tyler Adams, they're going to Leipzig. They're all going. We've got
Sargent. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
I think there's like 10 or 15 Americans abroad in top 5 leagues. That's a big fucking deal. And I think that's down to Pulisic and his dad from Hershey, PA. Hershey Squirt. Hershey. Get it? I still got it.
Still got it.
But speaking of still got it, the oldest team sport competition in the world continues on Saturday. The FA Cup. Everton versus Manchester City. My team is boring. My team is moving quickly and easily. They could lose any of these games, but I'm not afraid of Everton. We have South Coast Bournemouth versus Southampton. Friends from another time. I don't care about that game. Leicester versus Man United on Sunday. Of course, the featured game. And then Chelsea plays Sheffield United. there's no way Sheffield United is winning that game. By the
That's a
way,
knot in the face.
they fire Chris Wilder, my friend, and immediately get blown out 5-0. That's the first time they have lost by more than 3 goals.
We didn't really talk about that. That was so that's going to be 2 not-in-the-face games for them in a row, because I was watching that in preparation for what I thought was going to be a fun day with the North London derby. But that was just mean, Leicester. That was scoring at will. That was, we just don't even give a shit anymore. Oh, just blindfold yourself and take a shot.
Former City Kelechi Iheanacho, legend. Who gave shout out respect to his mom who had died.
And he still missed a sitter, by the way.
Well, then he's definitely a City striker.
Yeah.
But I think so. I was listening to something about Chris Wilder, and one of the pundits from England was like, he was Alex Ferguson level at that club. Like, he had his hands on everything. Like, what kind of chairs they're going to have? What's the food like? How do we do the tea? How do guys dress? Like, the club had taken on his personality, and they are owned by Qatari oil steel magnates, and they wanted it to change. And so you had this culture clash of, we want it now. We want to play different. We want to do better. They wanted to put a director of football in, because the fact is their transfers were catastrophic. Berg got hurt. Brewster was a lot of money and was bad. I mean, like, they needed 10 goals out of him and they got 0.
Yeah.
And so that's why our friends at Sheffield are gone. Random, just, the FA Cup can bring any conversation. Again, I love the FA Cup. City are on for the quadruple. It's the only conversation to have.
I'm rooting for that now. I'm objectively rooting for that, because I want people to have to be forced to admit that this might be the greatest team that they've ever seen. If they win all 4 trophies,
they will. The narrative will shift. I just think the problem for City, and this is a really good conversation to have, is just we just don't have that many fans.
No,
we're nouveau riche. We are the cotton baron in Manchester in 1870, trying to go to the manor house, and they're like, look at this fucking guy with his wrong tie on.
You've got Liverpool spitting on you from a
right. We're not royal.
Third story window.
They use that term, right? European royalty. We're not European royalty. Right. We're scum. We're brown. We're from dirty oil. But you know what? England, when you fucking stole shit, or the US, when you fucking stole England's secrets to make oil for cheaper, we were that country. So Americans, you should root for Manchester City, because you know what? You're just like Manchester City. We're oil scum fucking.
Which by the way, I think most Manchester City fans reside in the States. I think they're one of the most popular teams in the States.
Because they've been good since they've been on MSNBC.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think, if we're talking to an American audience, I don't think that anybody here has had any qualms.
If they were
with
smart,
City,
they would get Pulisic or one of these young Americans. I mean, they got Zach Stefan, so that counts. They did put their flag in, but Stefan is not a loved American player yet. He doesn't have that 14 save.
And so to going back to why it took us 2 episodes to be able to talk about a goalkeeper, it's because unless you pull a Tim Howard against Belgium in 2014, it's just not. There's just so many other things.
Actually, let's go back a step.
It's just not sexy.
It was to go back to let's wrap up the show. But the goalkeeper for Zagreb was fucking.
Oh, he was great today. Yeah, we'll finish up with Mike's
he made like a hockey level save.
Against Kane.
The hockey save where you dive across with the paddle and bat a shot out that it looks like there's an empty net and then you're there.
And it's
he did that, but with his hand.
The space is there and then it's not. And for Harry Kane, it was weird too, because he had to place it more centrally in the net than he wanted to, because he would have gotten it blocked by a defender otherwise.
But he didn't smash it and he didn't lift it. Right?
No, it was on his left. I mean,
I know. It happened, and they just needed that goal.
I will not hear any slander for Harry Kane. But no, it's
next week we should probably discuss where he's going to go. Folks, that was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We release new episodes on Mondays and Thursdays. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts or anyone else. It makes a difference. Share, tell your friends. If you want to be on the show, you can be on the show. We'll take anybody.
Anybody.
Not anybody. Not my sister who wants to desperately. All right.